99.9% of all species that have ever lived on this planet are now extinct. That's not failure. It's the relentless engine of evolution. And you and I are just the temporary winners in this cosmic struggle for survival. But what exactly made us winners? And how long can we stay on top? The answer is more surprising than you think. You've probably heard of evolution. Maybe you think of monkeys slowly standing up to become humans, of dinosaurs wiped out by a meteorite, or of Charles Darwin and his finches. But that's just a tiny part of a much bigger, much more powerful picture. The true story of evolution is the most dramatic story ever told. It is a story of chance and necessity, of reproduction and extinction, of brutal struggles and ingenious adaptations. And this story is far from over. It is happening right now, at this very moment, in you and around you. In this video, you will understand the fundamental rules of life. You will learn that evolution is much more than just survival of the fittest. I will reveal to you the 4 central engines of evolution, which are often misunderstood or ignored. And in the end, you will see the world through different eyes. You will understand why you are the way you are and what incredible journey lies behind every single living being on this planet. Stay tuned, because this is the ultimate instruction manual for life itself. To understand how evolution works, we must first dispel the biggest misconception. Evolution is not a plan. There is no goal that everything is working toward. There is no ladder that inevitably leads to humans. Think of life more like a giant, wildly overgrown bush with billions of branches. Each branch is a species, and most of these branches are already dead. We humans are just the tip of a tiny branch in this gigantic bush. The basis for this entire system, the absolute starting point for every change, is mutation. Imagine DNA, the blueprint of life, as a giant book. A mutation is nothing more than a typo in that book. A single letter is swapped, deleted, or added. These errors happen completely at random every time a cell divides. Most of these typos are meaningless or even harmful. They are the cause of many diseases. But every now and then, very rarely, such a typo leads to a new beneficial trait. A slightly thicker coat in a cold season, a slightly longer beak to reach nectar, a slightly better camouflage color. Mutations are therefore the raw material, the source of all genetic diversity. Without them, there would be no differences between living beings, and evolution would be impossible. But mutation alone is pure chaos. It is like a sculptor striking a block of marble at random. To create a sculpture, a second, much more powerful force is needed, and that is natural selection. Natural selection is the most famous part of evolution, but also the most misunderstood. It is not about brute force or who is the most aggressive. It is solely about adaptation to the respective environment. Imagine a population of beetles living on brown tree bark. Due to random mutations, there are green and brown beetles. The green beetles are much easier for birds to spot on the brown bark, so they are eaten more often before they can reproduce. The brown beetles are better camouflaged, survive longer, and have more offspring. And because the color is hereditary, they pass on their brown camouflage color to their children. Over many generations, the proportion of brown beetles in the population increases, while the green ones disappear. This is natural selection in action. It is not a coincidence, but a relentless filter. The environment selects which characteristics will be more common in the next generation. And the environment can be anything: the climate, predators, available food, even the sexual preferences of partners. This is the crucial point. Natural selection is not random. It is the logical consequence of the interaction between random variation and specific environmental conditions. But I'll reveal the real reason behind this, which is that even selection doesn't tell the whole story, in a few minutes. Because there are 2 other often overlooked drivers of evolution. The first is genetic drift. Imagine that in our population of green and brown beetles, someone accidentally steps on part of the population. By pure chance, they end up stepping on a disproportionate number of brown beetles. In the next generation, the proportion of green beetles will suddenly be larger again. not because they are better adapted, but simply by pure chance. This effect is particularly strong in small populations. A volcanic eruption, a flood, or a disease can drastically and completely randomly change the genetic composition of a population overnight. Genetic drift is the chaotic, unpredictable force of evolution. The fourth driver is gene flow. This is basically nothing more than migration. When individuals migrate from one population to another and reproduce there, they bring their genes with them. A bird flying from one island to another, pollen carried hundreds of kilometers by the wind. This mixes up the gene pool and can introduce new traits into a population, or reduce differences between populations. Gene flow counteracts isolation and connects the branches in the bush of life. Mutation, natural selection, gene drift, and gene flow. These four forces work together continuously every second. They are the reason for the incredible diversity of life we see around us. They have turned simple single-celled organisms into whales, eagles, redwoods, and us humans. When these processes operate over very long periods of time and populations become isolated from each other, for example by a river or a mountain range, they can diverge to such an extent that they can no longer reproduce with each other. At that moment, a new species has emerged. This is called speciation. And that brings us back to the beginning, back to the 99.9%. Every species is an experiment of evolution, a temporary answer to a specific ecological question. When the environment changes, and it does so constantly, species must adapt or die out. The dinosaurs were incredibly successful for 150 million years, but they weren't prepared for the impact of an asteroid that suddenly changed the rules of the game across the entire planet. Their extinction wasn't their failure, but created the niche that allowed small mammals to spread and eventually conquer the world. What does all this mean for us? It means that we are not the end product or the goal of evolution. We are the result of a 4 billion year long unbroken chain of ancestors, all of whom were just well adapted enough to survive and reproduce long enough. Each of your genes is an heirloom from this incredible journey, but the journey is not over. Today, the environment is changing faster than ever before because of us. Climate change, habitat destruction, global interconnectedness. All of these are massive selection pressures that affect all living things, including us. Evolution is not a topic for dusty history books. It is the most important force shaping our future. Understanding how it works is not a luxury, but a necessity. It teaches us humility in the face of the fragility of our own existence, and awe at the incredible resilience of life. We are not the end of evolution. We are just one chapter in this incredibly long book, and the next pages are only just being written. If you are eager to learn and want to further your education, sign up for a free subscription now.